Wrexham are promoted. They have their storybook ending. You can walk through the fire. You can walk through the fire. When it's down to the wire. You can walk through the fire.
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the Wrexham Texan, episode number 29. Today, I am not wearing Wrexham colors. I'm wearing Texas A&M colors. It was a game day, and Stockport destroyed Wrexham, while, on the other hand, my Texas A&M Aggies were dominating in their victory over the Auburn Tigers. So I'm doing some celebrating by wearing our shirt instead of the Wrexham shirt or sweatshirt today. So apologies if that's offensive to anybody out there. I know in the title it says I'm going to analyze the Stockport game. It was like watching it was like we were back in the National League and Stockport was a championship team or a League One team. That was one of the most embarrassing losses I've seen in a very long time. And mind you, I'm a fan of the Texas A&M Aggies, who lose in embarrassing fashion on a regular basis. So it was just an extremely painful game to watch. I don't even have highlights to show because what were the highlights? What were the highlights? Tell me. Someone tell me what the highlights were. I mean, you could say some medium lights. There were some medium lights, like Elliot Lee's crossbar shot and the 88th minute or something like that, 86th minute. So I don't know. Fletcher came in and he hustled his butt off. Ollie Palmer hustled his butt off. They both played really well for the few minutes they came in. I was very confused as to why we didn't make any subs at halftime, considering how poorly it was going. It seemed like Aaron Hayden got ran past almost every single time they got the ball down at our end. There was lots of miscommunication, lots of poor touches in the defense. I mean, our defense looked like utter crap. And to be honest, I'm not sure any of those goals were Mark Howard's fault or would have been able to be stopped by Mark Howard. Those were just easy goals, most of them. And it should have been more. It should have been 6, should have been 7. They had that header in the first half that almost gave Olave, I believe it was Olave, I might be getting Olave confused with a NFL player. Whoever it was should have headed that ball in because it hit the post. It was right there. Olave. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so there's an Olave in pro American football, and there's an Olave in this league. So that's fun. But I believe he almost got a hat trick in the first half, and he ended up getting that hat trick in the second half. But I guess, I don't know. We'll go over a little bit of the match stats because it was utterly painful. Here is why possession means absolutely nothing. We possessed the ball for 53% of the time, and they scored 5 goals. Let me flip that. We possessed it for 47% of the time. Still, I mean, it's basically a 50-50 game, and they scored 5 goals. 5 goals out of it, and we scored nothing. So, our defense was horrendous, and our offense was less than mediocre. It was just a horrible game that I plan on forgetting as soon as I stop recording this particular podcast episode. Let's see. They had 7 interceptions. We had 5. They had 1 offsides. We had 3. They had 1 corner. We won 5 corners. Why are we not better from set pieces? We could have. I mean, we were for a few games, but man, it looked like a game from the very beginning of the season. From those first 3 or 4 games where we looked terrible on offense and defense. It just it looked like that. Or we looked terrible on defense. We never looked terrible on offense, but today we looked pretty bad on offense. Sorry, I can bring these stats up on the screen for everybody. Passes were 514 to 447 in their favor. Accuracy about the same, 78 to 71. We had 21 crosses and did nothing with them. Our crossing accuracy was 38%, and yet we did nothing with them. We had some flashes where it could have been great. The one where I forget who Elliott dumped the ball off to, and then it was kind of a give and go. I thought it was McLean, but I could be wrong. It was in the middle of the box, and why the guy Elliott passed to didn't just turn around and fire it in the goal, I don't know. He had an open shot, and it was a tight pass to get Elliott Lee the ball right in front of the goalie. I didn't just turn around and kick the ball in, man. It's right there. We had 20 shots, only 5 of them on target. They had 10 shots, 5 of them on target. So they did much, much better than we did. We had 5 block shots. They had 3. We had 5 shots outside the box and 15 shots inside the box. You got to applaud their goalie. You just got to applaud their goalie. He made a couple fantastic saves. Their defenders made fantastic saves. And then we just kicked the ball wide or over the top quite a bit. It was just utterly painful. And I know we're going to have these games. Everybody has these games. It's just in the moment. It's like, I'm not calling for anybody to be fired or benched or anything like that. It's just, you gotta lament for a little bit, and these are just the facts. It was just a terrible game. They had an 80% tackle success rate. We had a 55%. They had 40 clearances. 40 clearances. It felt like for the entire first half, even with them scoring 3 goals, it felt like we had the advantage and the momentum. That's how weird this game was. Like we seem to always have the ball right next to their goal, and yet we just couldn't convert. And that's not a problem I ever thought we would have, where we couldn't convert and then we'd allow 5 goals, because their counterattack was devastating. Let's see, discipline. 13 fouls conceded for us, 10 for them, 1 yellow card apiece, 0 red cards. I mean, there's really not much more to say. 21st minute, Olafe, 30th minute, Olafe, 32nd minute, Barry, 50th minute, Olafe, and then in the 90th minute, to just add complete insult to injury, Patty Madden kicks one in. That should never have been there. They should never have had the ball. It was a horrendous play leading up to it and a horrendous finish. So, yeah, just a day that I imagine most Wrexham fans will want to forget. It's a Saturday when I really, really, really wish we had a Tuesday game coming up, so that we didn't have to live with this for an entire week. Oh man, I cannot wait to watch our guys back out there on the pitch next week and make up for this embarrassment. Yeah, I mean I really don't have much more. I thought McLean had a really rough day. I didn't think he did. It was just not in the cards for him today. And I've been loving McLean. He's a beast. He's an animal. Loved watching him play. I didn't like that Dalby was in over Palmer. I thought Palmer had done enough to earn that starting spot. And, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. What the frick do I know? But Palmer, the fact that they were letting the players play and not calling too many fouls, that's the kind of game that Palmer needs to be in because of his physicality. Dalby is a little more finesse than physical. And so I would much prefer, I would have loved to have seen some halftime substitutions, especially on the defense. And I would have loved to have seen Palmer come in earlier, because Palmer was starting to make things happen, but I just don't think he had enough time to do it. So yeah, overall, absolutely horrendous. I very much disliked the entire game. I was super excited, leading up to it. I recorded the game, but I will not show any highlights because there are no highlights to show. So, sorry. And this week is going to be my first week interviewing somebody. Our first guest ever on this show is Mr. Giosuè Greco. He is the composer for Welcome to Wrexham. He created the theme music. He created this year's theme song along with John Hume. And yeah, he agreed to come on the show. And here is our interview from just the other day. Giosuè Greco, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You're the first guest to come on the Wrexham Texan. And I've mentioned, and I don't know, it's got to be 10 of the episodes so far, how much I absolutely love the music. And for those who don't know, can you tell people what you worked on in the show Welcome to Wrexham?
Well, I did the score, the original score, and as in season 2, also the main title, together with John Hume, who's a top liner, amazing top liner. Shout out to John Hume. So yeah, the whole music thing, it's pretty much in my hands.
I love it. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Italy. I there for like 21 years of my life, then moved out here to attend college. I went to Berkeley College of Music up in Boston. So graduated and then moved to LA pretty much right after it. And I'm currently in LA. I've been here this whole time. I've been here for at this point 9 years.
You said you're from the south of Italy. Where can you tell me where specifically?
Yeah, so the region is called Calabria, which is basically the top of the hill.
Okay,
pretty much. We're kicking Sicily away, kind of.
Gotcha.
So the southern that you can possibly go, basically, yeah.
Oh wow.
It's very. I'm from a very small town, super tiny town. It's like 12,000 people, maybe 13,000.
Wow.
And so when I came across Wrexham, the story of Wrexham, well, first of all, I was brought in really early. They were just talking about the project, and they were shooting the initial. This was 3 years ago at this point. They were shooting the initial stuff up in the UK. So I was able to see some of the footage of the small town, and I was like, "This is it. This is clearly UK, but it reminds me a lot of what I grew up in, the social context in which I grew up, and then we also have a very tiny local football team, which is nowhere near the skills of Wrexham, obviously, but people are so into it. So I could definitely relate to that like fervor of the people from Wrexham.
What so is that, would you consider that your team, like your club that you follow?
I don't know if I follow them anymore. They're really bad in the sense. Okay, for anyone listening, they're actually not that bad. It's just that so up and they're so at the bottom of whatever league, whatever regional league. And it's gonna take years and years for them to ever get better. But ultimately, it's a very small team. I went to a couple. I went to games growing up. My grandpa loved it, so we went to a bunch of games growing up. And yeah, it's just a super rundown football team, and the field itself. It's like it's very comical to see. But people are really into it.
I bet people. I mean, soccer's easily, or football is easily the most popular sport in the world. I think cricket might be right up there too. I think cricket. Huge game, and in like India, I think like cricket stars have hundreds of millions of followers, like more followers than anybody else on like Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And so that's very interesting that like very few places play cricket, but it's a huge sport where it is played.
Yeah, it's from the UK, right? I think it's like a colonial sport. Also.
It could
Like,
be.
It was brought over.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I know almost nothing about it other than it's super popular in places.
When I lived in the UK, I lived in London for a little bit, for like 6 months, half a year, a couple of years ago, and I was working on a film project, and the international league, the World Cup of cricket was going on one night, and people were so into it, and I felt a little bit like like I didn't know anything about it, and I thought it was like kind of like a bizarre sport.
Yeah,
but actually, I'm the one who's weird. It's like I'm the one who's weird for not knowing about it. Cricket is the shit. Cricket is shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The fact that you can have games last for like 7 days is the strangest thing to somebody who like
chess.
is ready to be done with a sport after like 3 hours, you know?
Yeah.
That's a weird thing. How long have you, like, when did you know you wanted to compose music? Like, what took you on this track in life?
Yeah. It's kind of, I wanted to say that it happened by chance, but ultimately, I started playing music when I was 7, 8, and well, that's where I started taking lessons, actually, but I was always very interested in, and there's recordings of me playing without really knowing what I was doing, but just kind of like putting my fingers on the piano. And also my family has been very, very supportive. We had instruments in the house, and I would just pick them up and play. Ultimately, a couple of years down the line, I started playing with local bands and kind of started like making a little bit of money. So I saw a feedback loop. I was able to see how my passion can actually build something out of it. And even the financial remuneration is just an extra confirmation that you're doing something right, and ultimately allowed me to buy more instruments, and allowed me to make more music, and allowed me to buy more instruments. And it's like some weird capitalism spinning wheel. So when I moved to Boston, I got a scholarship to attend Berkeley, because it's really expensive school, and also coming from Europe, it's very difficult to attend an American school if you live. European wages are much lower. Blah blah blah. So when I was there, I could have started. I could have majored in performance, like music performance, like saxophone. I'm a saxophone player.
Okay.
But I've decided I always like computer and technology, and like manipulating sound in the computer.
Right.
So I kind of like started doing working on electronic music there, and then the electronic music took me to write music for media, for like videos, for video games and stuff like that. And so, as you can see, that was the next step, was going to be scoring.
Interesting.
So I want to say that I didn't go to school for film scoring specifically. I studied music production. I studied vocal production, pop. I worked on a lot of pop stuff before, but scoring is just something. It almost felt like the natural progression of things, if it makes sense. And so when I moved to LA, one of the many millions of little gigs that I had to do was scoring documentaries, and then from one documentary takes you to another. Like everything is just kind of like a stepping stone, and I just kind of started building this scoring catalog of music. So ultimately, it's not necessarily something that I was expecting to do 10 years ago. I knew that I wanted to work in music. I knew that I wanted to work in music in any shape or form. Maybe not in the business form, more like actually hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
So writing for TV and film scoring, it's just something that allows you to explore all the possible little nuances that I wanted to. So you get to do stuff in the computer, you get to do synthesis, you get to work with synthesizers, which I love. You get to buy a bunch of traditional, as you can see behind me, a bunch of traditional instruments and record them. You get to work with string sections. So like in Insane Musician, you get to record drums, which I love. You get to buy a bunch of microphones that I also love. It's just kind of like the holy grail of music fun, I think.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's like something different every day, and you get to experiment with just a whole bunch of different things rather than being stuck. You know, if you're just playing guitar in a band, you're pretty much just stuck with the guitar.
Yeah, you're constantly testing it's like a video game, but in life, you're constantly testing your abilities. And obviously, it's also kind of like a personality thing. Some people like to be constantly challenged, and because you learn something from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double win, because you are completing the project, but you're also learning something from it, and then next time you can use that skill for something else. So yeah, it just kind of like, it's a job, quote unquote job, that allows you to like really learn new things. Every single project you do, you're learning something insane. Like at the mature age of 29 years old, which is when I started working on Wrexham, well, actually 30, I started playing banjo.
Wow.
I bought a banjo and I started playing it. And that just kind of opened a whole like wormhole into traditional instruments, and why they sounded the way they sound, and why we play them the way we play them, which is a whole different conversation. But like, I didn't know that existed. I guess I knew. I was never kind of interested in it, but Wrexham forced me to explore that.
Yeah, imagine like scoring something, you're trying to like highlight and give an undertone for the emotions that the audience is supposed to be feeling, the emotions that the people on screen are supposed to be feeling or are feeling in the moment. So I imagine like that would have to involve a bunch of different instruments, a bunch of different styles, all that kind of stuff. Is that the case?
Yeah, also researching, because this is actually another interesting point. Like, sure, you do a little research on the Welsh music, Welsh instrumentation, or whatever, Welsh traditional music, but I think it's kind of bizarre and corny when a composer starts, a person who's not okay. If I started kind of like ripping off or sound alike traditional Welsh music, I think it would sound disingenuous, and ultimately it would sound really bad because I'm not from there. And so to the best of my abilities, my music will never sound genuine, you know? So I think I'm always, with Wrexham specifically, I'm always walking that line where, yes, I do want to use mandolins. Yes, I do want to use banjos and bouzouki and bodram or whatever. But how do I make that sound like it's not actually, that I'm not actually trying to do that? You know?
Yeah.
How do I play the mandolin in a way that it's evocative enough so that the listener is like, oh, this is some UK stuff, but without necessarily being, I'm trying to do traditional music. Look at me,
right?
You know, which is it's just an art on its own, and ultimately it's super fun when you find and I think, and now that we're working on season 2, I finally found the way the language for the show, I guess. So it's much easier, but it was a little challenging at first.
Interesting. What was your well, first of all, you said you got into this project early. How did that come about? Like, how did you get involved?
How did I get involved? The director for season 1 contacted me. I think it was because he has seen another documentary that featured my music. I'm blanking on I don't remember exactly which project he mentioned that he saw, but he has heard my music somewhere else. And he must have like written down the name and then he contacted me privately. So yeah, he actually, it was very cool because I rarely get to be that early on a project. Usually I get like an assembly, which for the people that don't know, it's the movie has already been shot and then they just kind of like put it together. It's not necessarily a fine cut, but it's a resemblance of a movie, and then they send it to me. And usually there is already temp music on it. And temp music is when it's pre-existing music that they put on the cut, and then at that point my job is substitute that temp music with my original score. And it's quite challenging because when that happened, usually editors, and this is something that happens subconsciously, when they put somebody else's music, they tend to cut the scene to that music. And so when it gets to me, now I gotta find a way to recreate that somehow. And sometimes editors and directors tend to be very attached to that pre-existing music because it was working so well. So that's the whole thing. But luckily with Wrexham, I was able to write beforehand. As a matter of fact, I wrote a bunch of stuff off screen, just kind of like referencing images and short videos that they sent me. But I wrote these long suites that were like 6 or 7 minutes pieces. I think I wrote like 10 of them or something. And that's actually what made it into the album. If you listen to the album, the album is basically those original suites. And we just put them in the album. But so once I delivered them to the editor, they were able to use them as temp music. So when I received the cut, the temp music was already my music. So I'm like, great, this is awesome.
That's a really interesting way. Yeah, because you're totally right. When I finish a documentary is generally when I get in contact with the composer that I want to talk to. It's nice to know that it's helpful for you to actually be a part of the project before that point. So maybe I'll contact a composer first next time and be like, this is what we're doing. This is the vibe we're going for. Because I watched some reel the other day where it was just a editor talking to the camera, and he's like, asking an editor to change the song is like asking a home builder to change the foundation.
Yeah. One of the challenges, just to go back to what we talked about before, one of the challenges of film composers is that you are you're pretty much constantly receiving some degree of feedback. And whether, I want to say like there is a 50% chance that what you wrote, what you spend like a couple of days writing, it's not going to make it into the film. And it's not going to make it into the film, and it's going to get criticized, and so you got to be able to take that criticism in the most, creative way possible, if it makes sense.
Sorry, you broke up 1 second. In the most what?
In the most creative way possible. And
gotcha.
And like you can't possibly take that personally, but at the same time, it's okay to like completely delete what you wrote. But if anything, that experience taught you that was the wrong path. And that's a very valuable lesson. Yeah. Very oftentimes I write something that I like because I like it. and then the director's like, this is not gonna work for me. That kind of like humbles me and brings me back to the fact that I'm actually working for the picture. This is not like an album that I'm putting out because of my music. The music is serving the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, don't do that again. Write something that works for the picture. And then obviously another valuable lesson that I will never stop learning from is interpreting people's, basically it's like translating words into emotions first, and then translating those emotions into music. I don't know if it makes sense. Like,
yeah,
sometimes, like, and this is actually quite dramatically, like, if you send me an email with feedback, I would highlight that one phrase and analyze it and be like, what does this word mean? Because sometimes people, this is just about anybody. We say we say something like, I want this to feel unsettling, okay? And then you're like, okay, cool, but what does that actually mean? Is unsettling scary? Is unsettling like there's so many shades to that one word.
Yeah.
So I got to put it into context and be like, okay, so what unsettling actually means in this, what Jake actually meant is this, and this. Okay, great. So how do I make that into a piece of music? And this is just something that you never stop learning from.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine because every situation is different, you know, and every
Right,
scene,
yeah.
no scene is ever going to be the exact same, and no one's ever going to feel the exact same they did, you know, in the previous movie. So that would make it really difficult for one, but also I'd say probably more fun and more challenging and less monotonous as time goes on, because like with a lot of jobs you just get bored, you know, like
it's true.
If it's different all the time, I imagine that helps with the whole process and enjoyment of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if it gets too easy, I don't want to do it.
That's fair. I always think that it getting easier would make me enjoy it more, and then when it gets easy, I'm like, okay, what's next? Like, what can I do to make it harder?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that kind of your process? You kind of start with trying to decipher the emotion of the moment, and then or like the words or the feelings of the moment, and then bring it into the music. Is that kind of how you start?
Yes. Yeah. Unless I have complete like blank page, which it did happen for Wrexham. The Wrexham team, they were like, just do whatever you think is right. And that's always a great place to start, but there's going to be, I mean, again, a percentage of what I think it's right might not ever get used. But if anything, I get the chance of really taking big swings.
Yeah.
Sometimes those swings land, sometimes they don't. But yeah, I mean, there's been situations where, because of deadlines, because of time constraints and whatnot, I had to be a little bit more careful. By more careful, a little bit more safe, if it makes sense. Gotcha. Like I know what the director wanted, and I know what the movie needed, and at that point, if I really have to deliver next week, do I want to go and just do a bunch of like experimental synthesizer and violin things? Maybe not. But if I have more time, I'll go for it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'm always waiting that email that says, this is great, but maybe it's not good for the scene. Yeah.
Right.
It's all right.
Yeah,
it happens all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I edit for some people, and it's like you send them the edit thinking, okay, I'm done with this. That was a great edit. And they'll be like, that was great. And then you see the word but, and you're like, dadgummit. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll start over.
Yeah.
The main theme music for the show in general is chilling. It brings up all these emotions every time I watch it. Where did that come from? A specific place? Like, what inspired that the main tone of the series?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with researching traditional Welsh music and like kind of like putting myself into the atmosphere of this little town in the UK, if it makes sense. There is a theme of positivity that just kind of like runs through the whole soundtrack. That I just kind of wanted that in there, because ultimately, despite the team, at least in season 1, the team not being really good, and Rob and Ryan having to go through jumping through all these hoops to make this thing work, and the funding and the race course and all that, there's always a positive outcome, sort of. And I think the comedy, I think that the comedic relief, their type of comedy, it's quite brilliant. So ultimately, you always see the positive side, even when there's bad moments. Like Rob and Ryan always find a way to like make you like smirk a little bit.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted the music to be like that. Like this is serious stuff, but not too serious. And ultimately, you see the light at the end of the tunnel, kind of.
Yeah. There was a perfect demonstration of that in the first episode of the season when Ron Harvey is like, I'm really down right now, and Ryan says he's going to sell his kid to help. That was freaking great. That was hilarious.
Yeah, man, I have to say, like, they're brilliant in the way the comedy is presented. Those comedian moments are just incredible. Every time I watch a new cut, I'm like, yeah, these guys are so good. And I obviously I saw the whole season. I'm working on the last 2 episodes right now.
Okay.
And I can tell you that there is so much. Yeah, I think season 2 might be my favorite. Maybe because it's so fresh for me, but there is so much shit happening that it's so cool, and it's so fun. This season is so fun.
I love it, man. I'm so excited.
It's hilarious.
I haven't watched the second and third episodes yet, but I plan to tonight, so I'm excited.
Great.
See more of your work. One more question before we get out of here.
Sure.
How did you and John Hume hook up, and what was like making that song, like the new theme song, like?
It was quite fast. So we were looking for this new a main title, and I tried writing it. We actually wrote different version of it with several top lines, several artists, and then one afternoon, my manager knows John. I think that was the connection, yeah. And so my manager was like, "Give it a try. He's in town. Let's set up a session." We only had 2 hours to do this. For whatever reason, I don't remember why, but we had to like keep moving. I think it was a Sunday. I think it was either a Sunday or a Saturday. It was like, yeah, we were like working on this. We were really, really cranking on the main title. So we hang out in the first hour, the song was already done, pretty much. Wow. We wrote a chord progression. You actually already had an idea of what it wanted to sound like. It was like, don't forget where you came from, type of concept. And ultimately, that's literally what the song says. Like, don't forget when you came from. Don't forget what you're made of. The ones who were there when nobody else would care. But don't forget to sing when you win. So like ultimately, don't forget all the bad times, but don't forget to be happy when. Like, it's kind of like an anthem to try to be in the moment. Like, don't forget to be happy when you win. To sing when you win.
Yeah.
So we produced it out, and then who's incredible, by the way, incredible top liner and like amazing musician. He recorded all the instruments, and we kind of like put it together and made it come out for the season premiere last week. So it's available right now on Spotify and everywhere else. So
Heck yeah.
you can Shazam it from the show and then go straight into your thank you for thanks to the power of the interweb.
One more question. Sorry. What has been your the reaction from fans, from people watching the show? Like, have you been contacted? Like, what have you seen? What has been your personal reaction, or like how has it affected you, this series coming out?
Yeah. All right. So I work on a bunch of other shows all the time, so it's hard for me to like keep my eyes on one specific or at least it's hard for me to keep track of people's or feelings about the show, or like even PR stuff. But this actually happened in season 1 and also in season 2. I was driving down Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard. This was last week, and I saw this huge billboard for season 2. And I was like, that's I did that one show. So yeah, definitely the scope of the show was much bigger than what I thought it would be in season 1. But incredible success, and yeah, people like it. Like, I get contacted all the time. Some like people on my social media saying, I really like this one piece in episode 12 where this thing happened. And to be honest with you, very often I don't quite remember what it is, what they're referring to.
Right.
Because again, with 5 hours of music, it's very hard to exactly point out what is what and in what scene I put it. But yeah, they're like, I really like your music. And yeah, definitely overwhelmingly positive reaction from the fans. And yeah, I mean, when I tell people I work on the show, they're like, oh, that show is huge. So yeah, the show is huge. And again, I live in a little bit of a bubble. I'm always in my studio, and I do watch TV, but I guess I'm not like so in the TV world. But Wrexham is an incredibly popular show, and so the Emmys are up too. They moved them to January, so we got a bunch of nominations, and
heck yeah,
I'm hoping we win.
Heck yeah, man! I hope you do too. I wish you nothing but success in that regard.
Yeah, thank you.
Where can people find you? Where can people listen to more music? Find you on socials, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, socials at sounds like Giosuè. Maybe we can put it on the screen or something. Oh, yeah, that's me. Yeah, Instagram, Twitter. It's all the same handle. It's all sounds like Giosuè. I'll just type my name.
Perfect.
Actually, I wanted to plug my single that comes out in 2 days, September 22nd.
Okay.
It's called Mine Forever, and the little promo is the second one or the third one on my grid. That one and the other one. There's gonna be, oh yeah. Yeah, so it's a little bit of an ambient experiment. It's kind of like feel good music.
Yeah,
instrumental music, and you can pre-save it on my link on my thingy, or you can just wait September 22nd for it to come out on Spotify. And there's going to be one single every month. I'm going to start putting out music under my name that it's not necessarily connected to a film project. So I'm really excited about that. Awesome. That's it. Just wanted to plug that.
Awesome. Well, man, I really appreciate it, Giosuè. It's been a pleasure. Like I said, love the music. Keep it up, man. We
Thank you.
me and my wife just love the soundtrack to this whole series. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. There you have it, Mr. Giosuè Greco. I mean, for me, I've mentioned this on the show a bunch of times. The music is absolutely phenomenal. The theme music, I'm not talking about the theme song, the title song, or anything like that. I'm talking about that main theme music that you hear in big moments during the series is evocative in the best possible way. It brings out all the emotions that you're supposed to be feeling, and it ties you in. It has this element of hope just intertwined throughout the melody. It's a thing of beauty. And I absolutely enjoyed talking to Giosuè, and I'm so glad that he was the one that they chose to write the music for this series. Yeah. And you're going to get a triple feature today. You're going to get a game review, an interview, and a episode review. So up next, the second episode of Welcome to Wrexham Season 2 is entitled The Quiet Zone. And it might have been the most heart-pulling, emotional, beautiful episode yet. I know that I've said many times on this show so far that I'm not the biggest fan of the episodes that take you away from the primary story, which is the team getting promoted and the team doing their thing. However, there are exceptions to that rule. And spending the time to get to know specific groups of fans behind the scenes, I absolutely love. And especially this group that we got to see. Well, this mainly just this one fan that we got to see behind the scenes, along with a couple others who made appearances. But the whole episode starts off with Super Paul Mullen, his wife, and Albie at the beach, just playing. And then we cut to an interview with Mullen and learn that Albie had been diagnosed with autism. And I'm not a parent. I'm not going to pretend to know exactly how that feels. I have an idea, like I still feel human emotions, and I love my niece. I love my neighbor's kids. And I am certain that is not easy news to take or process or deal with over a very long amount of time for a parent. But Paul seems to be doing his best. And one thing that struck me was this clip of him right here.
I can't go to bed without feeling guilty. So I have to try to alleviate that guilt any way I can. And yeah, I might be too hard on myself.
Like I said, I'm not a parent. I don't know where that guilt comes from. I wouldn't even begin to understand that guilt. I actually can't comprehend why that would make you feel guilty. If someone wants to explain that to me, they can. But I am 100% certain that you are likely being too hard on yourself, especially with the way you acted in the rest of this episode and the things you said the rest of this episode, because you are doing your absolute best, it appears, and you are being supportive of the child. You're being loving with Albie. You are working with Albie. You are from what I can see, from what is shown in the documentary, you're doing everything right. And that's not to say that you won't mess up from time to time. That's not to say that things won't be overly difficult, as you mentioned in this episode. But from somebody who has watched people on screen for a very long time and interviewed them and edited them in documentaries and all sorts of stuff, I would love if that guilt faded over time for you, because I don't think there's anything that you need to feel guilty about. And that wasn't really expecting to speak directly to Paul Mullen in that moment, but hey, it is what it is. I thought that was a super interesting thing to say, and I didn't expect that to come out of his mouth. I love that he said that he just wants to make him smile every day, and that right there, that's all. That's what you need. That's what you need to do. We then cut to this lovely woman.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be a Wrexham fan. I love it. Wouldn't change it. My autism means my brain's wired differently.
Millie Tipping. That's kind of the primary story of this entire episode, and it kind of hits on what I believe would be other people's tangential stories in this regard, and people that she interacts with, and the people in the quiet zone, people who come about because of Carrie. Basically, this whole episode's about Millie, and she is fantastic. I love that she says it's a privilege to be a Wrexham fan, and she wouldn't change it. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and there are times when I would love to change that. It's been nearly 30 years since we've won anything. Same with Texas A&M. I don't know that I've ever considered it a privilege to be a fan of either one of those teams. So it kind of, I don't know, she made you think just right off the bat. I love that she's going around talking about her signatures, and she has drawings for the players, and she has one of her prized possessions is scarves signed by Rob, which I get. That would totally be one of my prized possessions. She's just a very lovely girl, and it was really, really wonderful getting to know her in this episode and getting to know how this whole side of Wrexham hasn't really been on camera too much before works, and how it's integrated into the club. I think is a beautiful thing, and I absolutely loved it. Let's see, what else did she say? She used to play disability football growing up. And when that went away, she had a really rough time, which is understandable. I mean, it's a hard time for anybody to let go of a team that they've played for. Tom Brady didn't retire till he was like 75 years old or something like that. So it's not easy for anybody. So people who get super attached to things and are super focused, it's going to be a lot more difficult. I think I found it interesting that she really wouldn't speak to Carrie at first. So she was kind of shy. And now it seems that she's the queen of the quiet zone, which I think is fantastic. I love that. She seems very confident in what she does, and like very excited and happy to do it. And I absolutely love it. As far as like the filmmaking side of this, there are things that you don't need fantastic filmmaking to make compelling and emotional. This is one of those things. Like, the music that Giosuè put in here enhances the emotions that you already feel, but there are some things that it's just not hard to make compelling. And Millie is compelling right off the bat. She's entertaining, she's funny, and she's admirable. And it was, it's just wonderful. It's a wonderful episode. Let's see. She loves that the players speak to her and like make her feel comfortable. And I love that they just walk down the line of kids, signing jerseys, signing whatever, talking to the kids, taking selfies. And she loves her spot at the end, gets her spot, and talks to the players, and they talk back and have full on conversations, and they take the time to do that, which is a wonderful thing. Ryan Reynolds follows her on Instagram or Twitter or one of the two, I don't know, and likes all of her posts. I mean, you want to talk about an owner who's invested in the mission that they stated. That is something that if he didn't do, no one would think he was doing less. But he does it voluntarily. Like follows a fan's account and likes all their videos and posts and everything. That's amazing. That's amazing. If that doesn't prove their intentions, if that doesn't prove where their heart lies, then nothing will. Like if you can find a bad thing to say now about Ryan Reynolds or Rob McElhenney, like you're just grasping at straws and you're making things up. I mean, I'm sure everybody's got a negative side, but man, their heart is clearly in the right place. And I think they're just as lucky to have the town and the club as the town and the club is lucky to have them. Because I'm almost certain that this level of involvement has to change you as a person, and has to make you a better person. And so I think it goes both ways when it comes to that with the club and the owners. And we end, let's see, I think I missed, no, I didn't. There we go. We end this little section with this quote right here.
Also, you embrace who you are. You are Millie. You are Millie Tipping.
I don't know why I found that to be so powerful. You are Millie. You are Millie Tipping. But man, I loved that moment with her and her mother, especially after her mom. I guess she says this later, but she's never wanted to hold hands as a kid. Has never told them that she loves them. And as a parent, that would be, that would be a very, very difficult thing to accept, a very, very difficult thing to live with. That would not be easy in any way, shape, or form. And you can see the patience and the understanding that her mom has with her. And it's quite lovely, them sitting at the kitchen table talking about feelings and life and everything, and accepting who you are and all of it. It's beautiful. We then cut to Mullen, who says he knows his son so well at this point that he always knows what he needs. Even though he's not verbal, Paul can take care of him. And that's the sign of a good dad. You're spending that much time with your kid, you know him backwards and forwards. And then Mullen cracks on camera. He gets choked up, can barely hold it together. And they stick with it for a while, which I found interesting. He's out of focus on camera. He's clearly very emotional. He's trying to pull it together. He says that happens a lot these days, which makes sense. Going through a lot, totally understandable. But then we cut straight to Paul and Ryan Reynolds watching a video of Albie counting, which is such a fun thing to count to, or to count to. Goodness gracious. Such a good thing to cut to, especially after, Ryan's been mentioned a whole bunch this episode. I think this was maybe his only appearance the whole episode, was just his interaction with Paul, fawning over his son counting. It's a great moment. We then go back to Millie, who says that autism is a superpower, which, there are a lot of ways where that is absolutely true. So I would not say that's too far off base. During this time, she's making a drawing for Mullen and Albie because Mullen had announced that Albie had autism through a social media post of his shoes, of his boots, his cleats. It has Albie written on it along with the symbol for autism. And Millie used to be scared of Mullen until he posted those boots. And now she's excited to talk to him, thinks they have a connection, which obviously they do. And that's amazing. It's fantastic to find that connection, especially for people who can't connect with everybody. I imagine that would be a lot of life would be pretty lonely and scary and hard. So finding people to connect with seems like it's essential to everybody. Everybody needs people to connect with, and she found her people. It's great. Let's see. She puts in all these things into a gift basket. Her old poppets things, soft blanket, fidget toy, stress ball, and a drawing. And she's super excited to go see Mullen. And in the parking lot, she sees Humphrey and says hi, and then keeps going. Mullen takes his time with all the children, as he should, and as they all do. And she finally gives him her gift, which was, all those things. And he was very appreciative. It was clear that he appreciated that gesture a whole lot. And then we get to the funniest moment of the episode, which is, here we go.
We're going to win.
5-0.
5-0.
Can you fake a penalty?
Fake what? Don't say that. I got enough abuse overnight for getting knocked my legs so far.
I love a person who will say things that no one else will, or no one else thought of, or no one else would dare say to someone like Paul Mullen. That is absolutely hilarious in the best possible way. I've said this about Mullen. He goes down too easy. He just does. And it's why you can't be my favorite player, Mullen. Sorry to tell you, you just can't be. I like a player that can push back and stay standing. So the fact that she calls him out on that is absolutely hilarious. She then predicts that Wrexham will win 5-0. And then we cut to the game versus, I'm going to butcher this name. I do not remember ever hearing this name pronounced. Solihull, maybe? Solihull Moors? I don't know. But the last, 3 minutes of the episode, Millie puts on her ear protection and it goes not completely silent, but extremely quiet. Which, if there's ear protection that works that well, somebody please send me the link, because I could use that when running saws and all sorts of stuff. If it can diminish the sound of a stadium that much, which obviously I know it's an effect for the series, for the episode, but if there's one that can diminish it that much, please send a link to me, because I want those. Fantastic game, lots of scoring. You don't know, you kind of lose count. You don't really know how much they score. And then right at the end pops up Wrexham win 5-0 and Paul got a hat trick. And that's what she wanted. It's what she predicted. She said 5-0. Paul got a hat trick. Probably faked a penalty, but I don't know. Maybe didn't get it. Overall, it's just a beautiful episode. It's absolutely fantastic. It's the best kind of offshoot to the primary story that can happen on this show, I think. There are going to be others that are great as well, but this kind of story where everybody in the club kind of works together and understands the mission and is on the same page in regards to so many things, especially when it comes to their fans and their supporters. It's beautiful. And it's something that I am certain doesn't happen at every club, doesn't happen at every team, doesn't happen most places. But it's happening here, and it's a beautiful thing. So there you have it, y'all. That's all I've got for today. Please go follow me on Instagram and Twitter, WXM Texan, Wrexham Texan. You can, if you'd like to come on the show, if you'd like to be interviewed on the show, if you want to have a chat on screen, give me a shout on one of those platforms, or you can email me, director@peacefulseaproductions.com. Also, go over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you can leave reviews, ratings. Please leave me one. If you want to give me a 1-star, though, please message me first and tell me what I'm doing wrong so that I can fix it. At least give me the chance to fix it. I'm not saying I will. I'm pretty stubborn. So if you're telling me to do something completely different that I don't want to do, well, then go ahead and give me a 1-star. You know, it is what it is. But go subscribe, go like, go do all the stuff. Just do all the stuff. It would be extremely helpful. I love making this show. I love watching Welcome to Wrexham. I love watching our football team, despite the obliteration that was today. So, yeah, thank y'all so much for listening. We will see you very soon. I believe I have another episode coming out in a couple days, so we'll see you then. Y'all have a good night. Up the town.
Search my soul with all your heart, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it. And if you knock my soul with all your strength, you're gonna find it. You're gonna find it.